All right, for those just tuning in, we wrapped up our game Necrons, kind of new Canoptic Court, versus the newer Chaos Knights, which are not even technically released yet. Final score, Chaos Knights 73 to a Necrons 60. A lot closer than I expected towards the end. I was kind of just like, yep, this is over. I'm getting pushed back. You have too many assets on there. And then we went to that last turn. You're like, no, you're only ahead by 4 points, not getting that challenger card. So that was big. Can't say it wasn't having units to do secondaries because I had fair secondaries. It just, I couldn't finish off the units when I had the good ones to be able to destroy things. I couldn't finish them off. Not for effort, not for lack of trying, but just not having the resources and kind of having to get lucky with it. You got lucky with that Overwatch, picked up my spider, but at the same time, it got to that point. It was too tough.
Yeah, I don't think you just had enough damage output from this list into an all vehicle list. I mean, it's a stat check army when you've got 14 vehicles on the table, even though they're only toughness 9. That wasn't super relevant, other than your strength 5 stuff, which was now wounding on 5s rather than on 6s. So I don't think it was a huge deal in this matchup. Other than the Doomstalkers, and I just stayed in the neg 1 to hit Shadow or whatever it's called for the Chaos Knights. I just kept that one because just didn't want to get shot by those Doomstalkers. And their whole thing in your detachment is being in your deployment zone because you always have that as your zone. So they're always rerolling hits. Well, if they're hitting on 5s, it's going to make it more difficult for them to actually get some damage through. So, no, I feel like the Chaos Knight, the Hound Pack Lance has got some play. The fight on death is fun.
Hate that. Never heard my Scorpex so bad.
Yeah, I mean, certain things like the Huntsman, they only get 4 attacks if you use a strike profile, and then they're hitting on 4s. And it's like, it's not like doing a ton of damage, but it's nice efficiency to actually make that work. And then I think I really noticed, and I mentioned it in my video on the army, is that I really noticed that this army does not have any CP generation. There's no captain ability to give you a free strat, and there's no CP generation ability. And there's some great strats. So it's really tough between wanting to use things like Tank Shock or the Heroic Challenge is the character precision and combat one. That one was great. So much value in this game, taking out Technomancers with the Carnivore character. But definitely would have liked to have a few more CP at some point during the game just to do some more of the things. The counter move strat is strong, and the fight on death is really strong. I didn't even get to use the sustain proc on 5s thing. I don't think I ever used the fall back and shoot either.
No, I was kind of keeping you, and I kept thinking, like, when I would pile into stuff, like, okay, if you fall back and shoot, then you're not going to charge in a precision. So I was kind of like trying to play off that a bit.
That was what I was doing. I made sure when I needed to go in and charge those wraiths and take out the Technomancer, I made sure I didn't spend CP. So that's the only thing I don't really like about the Hound Pack Lance. Is just, man, it'd be nice to have an enhancement that would give you CP on, even if it's on a roll, even just to get 2 or 3 extra ones throughout the game would be a huge benefit to the army. But other than that, I think it's fun. It's still a lot of wounds to chew through, even though some things are wounding easier. Having 14 wounds is a lot better than 12. Like your flat 3 damage Doomstalkers, it takes 5 of those shots to go through rather than 4. So whereas before your Overwatch was really strong with those, it's less strong. It's like, man, I need to pick up a full health one. You need 5 to go through. Even if something's got 5 or 6 wounds left, it's not really worth in the Overwatch just because you still got to hit, wound, and I'm going to have my save. So I think the Hound Pack Lance has got some play. Lots of mobility, lots of units, 14 different activations. I think if I play it again, I'm definitely going to mess with the mix of War Dogs. But yeah.
I think one of the things I was thinking about before this matchup, and I probably should have done, go with a fix. With what you're doing and how things are, like, my secondaries weren't bad, but I scored 25 on secondaries. I destroyed 10 of your dice. You had 4 left at the end of the game. There's 20 points right there.
Yep.
So whatever secondary I take in addition to that, I've already scored that points there. And I think if I would have taken something like Cleanse, cleanse, there's 2 tiers on that, I believe. You score a baby and a big cleanse.
Yeah, 2 and 4 points.
Yeah, because of Bring It Down, because of the challenger cards, in both aspects of it, if I could have, instead of going to that other objective at any point, I could have just stormed the center, sent so much up the middle, sent the scarabs up the middle, sent everything in there just to crash the middle. And that might have been overwhelming enough, because on the side flank, all I did was pick up the one brigand and just kind of be obnoxious to you over there. But in the end, it really wasn't even that bad, because you just picked up those scarabs. I could have rushed into the center. First time playing the list, I think rushing into the center would have been better. Just put so much in there and just keep putting things in there. The score pack coming on a rapid ingress and ready to go in there and just keep crushing that. I think then I would have done a little bit better into primary. And with Brigand, even with cleanse, even just on a couple of points here and there, I mean, even if I only got one objective for the entire game at 10 points, that already is 5 more points than I was getting from the randomization of those cards, not being able to capitalize in other areas because you didn't have units for me to really capitalize on. I had to be very systematic and precise in picking off certain ones. So going back and playing through that again, I probably would go with the fixed. I'd go with the fixed secondaries, go with Bring It Down, especially because as you start moving ahead with that scoreboard, Bring It Down I can pick up at any time. So I think that's the biggest takeaway that I have from it is take Bring It Down, because it's what I get 4 points on fixed for each one, so I wouldn't even need to kill it.
On when it's fixed, it goes to the old rule, which 2 points. If it's 15 or more wounds, then it's
okay. So I would have had to destroy 10 of them.
You would have had to. You needed to do all 10 in order to get 20 points.
Yeah. And I think that's actually more reasonable, just because your things, they do fall apart eventually. When you hit them enough, they fall apart. There's no feel, no pain. It's a 3-up save. So you can get through them. And if you don't, you lose the game. So it's I have to get through these things. I might as well score points for it. And now I don't have to worry about other aspects of the game. So in hindsight, I'd probably go with that. I'd probably look at all the other one, fixed secondaries in that scenario. Assassinate wouldn't have been a good one. But there might have been something else. But I think Cleanse probably would have been where it's at. Engage would not have been good. Cleanse,
yeah.
I think.
I mean, that's the thing with now taking fixed secondaries is that sometimes you can make up some of that with challenger cards. If you pull challenger cards, you can make up if you're kind of short on one of those fixed secondaries. It was an interesting game for the challenger cards, because how many were there 3 of them you pulled, or 2?
3, and I scored 1.
Yeah, it was actually interesting this game because they weren't auto scores. So the one that was tricky, and in the tournament I played this past weekend, I ran into this with a Tyranids player where he pulled the same one, where you score if you do an action, you have to be 15 inches away from any other unit in your own army. And if you're not prepared for that, it can be hard to do, because to get 15 inches away from other units is a long ways without any advances, because you want to do an action. So that was one you were not able to score.
Nope. And then there was another one too that I can't remember exactly. I know I got the one that was destroyed the 2 units. I got myself in position, so I picked that one up.
Yeah.
There was another one I think I had too that I used the strat on, or maybe it was the one. Maybe it was the last one where
you rerolled the ones to hit and wound.
I did the reroll ones to hit and a wound. And I did, I can't remember if I did another. No, I think that was it. I think that there was only 2 challenger cards.
Okay. But yeah, they were definitely tricky to score, because even the second one, you weren't sure if you're going to be able to pull that off, because it was a weird one. To kill 2 models from 2 different units. Well, all of my units are vehicles. So they're all 1 model unit. So you have to kill 2 of the war dogs. You were able to pick 2 of them up, but yeah, it would be tricky into this vehicle list if you weren't prepared to pick up 2 in a turn. If it was late in the game, you weren't able to do that. So,
yeah, no, I'm definitely going to look into some tweaking for it. I liked having a lot more units. That was nice. Definitely felt like this is a step in the right direction for what I was looking at with Canoptic before, going into it now. So definitely a step in the right direction for this detachment entirely. The Scorpex, they did their job. I didn't like getting hit back on the fight on death. That really hurt that big 6-man. But one of the biggest Scorpack weaknesses is not having an involved. They they get hit, they explode, they die. So that other 90 points into those 3 Scorpacks may not be where it's at. I could drop that squad entirely, maybe put in 2 Scorpack Lords to have some more invulns and the impact damage. I don't know, or maybe go a completely different direction, look into some other things that could possibly put out some more damage and still have momentum. So not feeling as bad as I was before, where I was like really feeling like I was hitting a wall when it came to scoring. In this one, it was just kind of like, okay, if I needed to play more on center, regardless of what secondaries I was taking. If I did fixed or I did the traditional and did tactical, I should have focused more on center. I spread it out a little too much. There's a lot of times that I won't go after my opponent's objective off to the side, and that can cost me a game by just letting them have that. And especially when you have an army that is able to put units and threaten me, this was one that I should have let you have it. Should have just let you have it. Played boogeyman there, especially with the score packs out of strategic, because if you did start to move up that way, I could have brought them on there and go, haha, now what are you going to do? And that could have been pretty menacing with a whole bunch of like scarabs and stuff in the center. So I got to keep that in mind for the future. Definitely should have just kept the center. So anything you would have changed with stuff like deployments and things like that? I know there was things that you did kind of just like, I'm going to do this because I can.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the game, I wanted the wraiths that were over in this corner. I probably should just let you have that objective, like you were saying, because I wasn't going to chew through those with 2 models and then 2 of my knights. And then I could have just focused on the other 2 objectives in no man's land and just piled onto those and protected them better and scored a little bit better on primary. So other than that, I think... I guess CP management is huge with this army because you don't get any extras. And I was pretty consistently scoring my secondary, so I wasn't getting any CP from discarding cards. I think I did that once in this game where I discarded a secondary. But
yeah, I did at the end of the game. Not early on. I was scoring those out. So that wasn't even, and that's why I was saying, I'm like, oh, I could go into fixed. That wasn't necessarily that bad, especially because Canoptic, most of the strats are all defensive. So it's like, I'm not even just, there's not like a lot in there. It's where am I playing this defense on? Am I going to load up you out of 18? Am I going to do a counter move? Stuff like that. So not too much there. It's more defensive. So
yeah, the lone op outside of 18 doesn't really matter in my army because now all those meltas are all 18 inch. I'm coming at you. I'm going to get nice and close.
Right.
Other than the Gatling cannons, there's nothing that's more than 18-inch range. So we're just coming close. I guess you could take the autocannon variants, but I just don't really like those that much. So other than that, it's all these Chaos Knights want to get close to you.
Well, that wraps up tonight. Got some thinking to do. Definitely Canoptic Court, better showing than it's been for a bit, so I'm happy to see that. It's definitely one of the armies that I like the most. And Chaos Knights, got to see some of the other stuff. It feels a lot like what we were facing off against before.
Yeah.
Just a couple more, like you got a couple more armature bodies, but for the most part, it's pretty much the exact same thing as what we were seeing before in the style that it's just, like you said, it's a stat check.
Yeah, that's just a lot. It just
gives you more
tough 9. Yeah,
you get more to do as the person playing it than you probably did before. Where kind of before it was just push dice, and that was it. It was tactically putting the pieces where they needed to be, but for the most part, it was just push dice. Yeah. And now you have a lot more you can do. Yeah, as I said in my army video, it's more interesting now because more of the data sheets are viable. So it's not just 6 brigands and 6 carnivores, and that's it. Carnivores are still really good. Brigands, I don't know where I'm going to be at on those. There is a fair amount of shooting to get like smaller units off of things between the Meltas and the Gatling guns. The Huntsmans are good with their full wound rerolls. So I definitely want to have 1 or 2 stalkers in my army. So yeah, I think it'll be fun to play around with some more data sheets. Hopefully, if you are a Chaos Knight War Dog player, hopefully you magnetized all your models when you built them. I know I did, because it's definitely going to be worth it to swap some of those out. But yeah, I'd say definitely the ones that I disliked the most from my side was the carnivores. Yeah, they're still real strong. I think I still run 6 of those now. I had 4 today, but I'd probably go back to 6 because they just 14-inch move, 6 attacks with their strike that are strength 12,
AP3, D6 plus 2 damage. They hit so hard. They have sustained all the time. They lost the weapon skill, but just naturally having sustained all the time mathematically is the same. So I definitely think they're still real strong.
All right. Well, that wraps up this evening. We'll see what we're getting out here next week. I'm not really sure we're going to play because we got to get ready. We have GT in the works coming soon.
DJ's been talking about getting ready for a GT for months now, but it's coming up. It's July 12th, so it's getting close. So
I got to pick something.
We only got a couple weeks to get ready for it.
So, guys, let me know. What should I play? All right. We've seen a couple armies. Let me know what I should play. All right, guys. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.